Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our AmCham Annual General Meeting for 2022 for March. It's a great pleasure to have you all with us here today, and we're looking forward to having a great meeting. I can confirm that the meeting has achieved quorum. We are in webinar format today, so you don't need to worry about your camera or your microphone. However, during the interactive portion of the AGM, I will call your attention to the bottom of the screen where you can find your hand raise function if you have a question or something to say during that portion of the session, and then you will be unmuted and asked to ask your question. So now, without further ado, I am going to pass it over to our AmCham president, Mr. Jeffrey Nygaard, to get us started. Go ahead, please, Jeff.
All right, thank you, Heidi. Welcome. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today is our annual general meeting for 2022. At the end of the meeting, we're going to deal with some chamber business, specifically around the 2021 annual reports. But far more importantly, we are privileged to have His Excellency Varavut Silapaka, the Minister of Natural Resources and Environment, with us today. It's an honor for him to come and share his thoughts about what are the ministry's policy priorities, what are they working on with respect to the environmental protection, renewable energy, and energy transition. And the minister is going to speak with us very shortly. As I mentioned a moment ago, at the end of the meeting, we'll be asking the membership to vote on three motions. The first motion is with regards to the 2021 President's Report. The second motion has to do with our 2021 financial report. And the third motion is approval and appointment of our auditors for 2022. The President's Report and financial report were available on the website before the meeting, but I realize some of you may not have had a chance to see those reports yet. They are going to be posted in the chat box, and please have a look at them so that we can vote on those three things at the end of the meeting today. And thank you for your attention. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce the minister, please. Heidi, we seem to be stuck on the slides here. Maybe we move ahead to the minister. Yes, all right. Welcome, Your Excellency. His Excellency has been the Minister of Natural Resources and Environment since 2019. He has former experience with the Ministry of Transport and has worked in the House of Representatives. He is a Knight Grand Cordon Special Class of the Most Noble Order of the Crown of Thailand, and a Knight Grand Cross First Class of the Most Exalted Order of the White Elephant, and a Knight Grand Cross First Class of the Most Noble Order of the Crown of Thailand. He has more than 20 years experience in the political arena, and we're very honored to have him here today and talk about what's going on. We appreciate it, and welcome. Without further ado, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and Sawasdee krab. It's my pleasure to address this distinguished gathering of the U.S. business leaders in Thailand today. And certainly thank you, Jeff, for a very warm welcome and introduction. I must say that I've never read my declarations in English before, so thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Thailand and the United States of America have been connecting and excelling for many years now. We are the major trading partner nations during the past decades. However, I sincerely believe that the relationship between Thailand and the US goes beyond business, such as people-to-people bonds have been weaving for almost 200 years, and I'm confident that it shall be further strengthened for the years to come. We also recognize the importance of the AmCham as the voice on the US business community. However, all of us have been recently tested by the COVID-19 pandemic, which has brought the devastation to millions around the world, disrupting many parts of the global economy. It is also exacerbating the current triple planetary crisis of climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution. However, amidst the darkest of the night, there is always a ray of hope. The COVID-19 crisis is an opportunity to change and to plan for a sustainable recovery while tackling the triple planetary crisis. And if we do not take the concrete actions now, our chaotic future is certainly on the horizon. Now, allow me to take this opportunity to share with you how the Royal Thai government plans to build back greener and better in which you may develop your business plan accordingly. Now, the COVID-19 crisis brings out the potential of Thailand, which is reflected in the National Development Plan after the crisis. We have to switch from heavy use of resources and environmental destruction to optimal utilization and conservation with a focus on integrated management, coordination of all sectors, knowledge and technology-based investment, which emphasizes on innovation and, of course, local wisdom. Now, the environmental aspects must also be integrated into every sectoral policy, particularly energy, industry, agriculture, and education. As Thailand is one of the most abundant biodiversity resources countries in the world, the economic model called Bio-Circular Green Economy, or BCG, is therefore introduced as a key policy in this regard. The major principles of this model include a sufficiency economy, building in a strength while connecting to the world community, and moving forward without leaving anyone behind. The model focuses on 5 dimensions, first of which is food security, health security, energy security, job security, and of course, sustainability of nature and the environment. The government has been working on investing and laying a solid foundation for BCG for some time now. We have established a national biobank to conserve and efficiently utilize biodiversity resources. A draft of Thailand's first Biodiversity Act is actually in the process of cabinet consideration. The bill shall enhance Thailand's capacity to turn our biodiversity resources into products with added value, such as dietary supplements and food products with the use of medical herbs and microorganisms. It's a good opportunity for the private sector to create business ideas and new investment in this area. And now I shall highlight on the environmental policy which may serve as a guideline for your business environment issues. The issues have always been addressed in Thailand's constitution, including the current constitution of 2017. Constitution provides that the state shall conserve, protect, maintain, restore, and manage and use or arrange for the utilization of natural resources, environment, and biodiversity in a balanced and sustainable manner, provided that the relevant local people and local communities shall be allowed to participate in and obtain the benefit from such undertaking as provided by the law. And moreover, with regard to any undertaking which may severely affect the natural resources, environmental quality and quality of life of the people, the environmental impact assessment, or as we know as EIA, is required. In addition to the Constitution, there are other pieces of legislation of which objectives are to protect and conserve the environment. The enhancement of conservation and of the National Environmental Quality Act, or NEQA, from 1992 and its amendment in 2018 are the primary environmental legislation. The provisions in NEQA can be deemed as an umbrella framework law that sets out the environmental quality standard, as well as rules and conditions for EAA or even EHIA. And only certain projects whose types and sizes are stipulated in the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environmental Notification shall conduct an EIA. For example, a hotel with at least 80 rooms or at least 4,000 square meters of utilization area, or a power plant with a capacity of at least 10 megawatts. Furthermore, various laws have been enacted and implemented regarding water and air quality, as well as chemicals and waste management. Now, let me stress on one of the most current important pollution, plastic pollution. Of course, plastic waste is a problem, but we have to fix it. I do sincerely believe that plastic benefits our life in so many, many ways. So it's too valuable to be lost as a waste. It should certainly be a big part of the circular economy. We have to ensure that plastic waste will not and cannot get into our environment. This can be done through several means, including the concept of 4 Rs: rethink, reduce, reuse, and recycle, as well as the process of the upcycle. From design to disposal, we should retain the value of plastic. We have to engage our stakeholders to complete the loop and ensure that no plastic ends up in the environment or is lost to landfill. Cleaning up our ocean and improving land-based waste management are imperative. I've learned that many US companies in Thailand have strived to make products and promote processes to enable the best environmental performance, mindful of every aspect of plastic's life cycle. I do admire Procter & Gamble Limited, or P&G, for the upcycling houses project in Chachoengsao province, which has helped reduce the plastic waste and preventing them from leaking into the oceans, causing marine plastic pollution while helping the people who are also in need. For Thailand, we have put our concerted efforts in dealing with the plastic pollution through the implementation of Thailand's roadmap on plastic waste management, which spans from 2018 to 2030, which is a holistic policy approach for managing plastic waste in Thailand, with vision in moving towards sustainable plastic management through the concept of circular economy. We've set the target to eliminate the use of less than 36 microns of plastic bag to be less than 100 microns plastic cups, plastic straws, as well as foam food container by the end of this year. And 100% of plastic wastes must be recycled by applying circular economy principle by the end of 2027. And moreover, Thailand has played the active role in the international negotiation for setting the new international legally binding instrument of plastic pollution, which is anticipated to be finalized by the end of next year, 2024. I'm sorry, the year after next. Ladies and gentlemen, in response to the major threats to mankind of this era, it is, of course, inevitable for me not to talk about the climate change. As we continue to live through the COVID-19 pandemic, climate change no longer seems like a distant reality. While Thailand is contributing to less than 1%, or actually 0.8% to be exact, of global greenhouse gas emissions, we are one of the top 10 countries that are most vulnerable to the adverse impacts of climate change in the world. The country is already suffering from such impacts, especially the devastating floods at the end of last year, and about to be followed by a withering drought coming on pretty soon. We, you and me, and us all, are the others living, and the others living on this planet stands at a pivotal point in history. This moment may be the penultimate round of fighting against climate change, or otherwise mankind might not live to see the next century. It is our duty, it's everyone's duty, as a matter of fact. That's why the Prime Minister, General Prayut Chan-o-cha, announced at the COP26 on the 1st of November last year that Thailand is willing to be more aggressive and will strive to reach carbon neutrality by 2050 and achieve the net zero emission of the greenhouse gas by 2065. With the adequate and timely equitable support of technology transfer and availability and access to ample green financing facilities, we will be able to increase our national determined contributions, or NDCs, to 40%. Following the pledge, it is crucial to make all sectors aware of climate change. The first ambitious step was already triggered by the Prime Minister's pledge at the UNFCCC COP26 last year, followed by the actions of the government agencies and the private sectors, respectively. But we do need actions from the public at large. Awareness rising is vital. To orchestrate all stakeholders in striving for such target, the government determines to speed up the pace of climate actions through several means of actions as follow. One, the policy and legislation which embraces the long-term national strategy, the BCG model. The new National Plan of Economic and Social Development from 2022 to 2027, and the draft of the Thailand's first Climate Change Act, which is during the process of submission to the Cabinet for approval. The Minister of Natural Resources and Environment is currently revisiting our NDCs, as well as the long-term low greenhouse gas emission development strategy, or the LTS. We are also working on the regulation required infrastructures for national carbon pricing mechanism and carbon credit market, in order to provide incentive for private sectors to engage in greenhouse gas emission reduction activities. The National Carbon Trading Platform and Thailand Carbon Neutral Network, or TCNN, are established under the cooperation between the Ministry through Thailand Greenhouse Gas Management Organization, or TGO, and the Stock Exchange of Thailand, as well as the Federation of Thai Industries. Moreover, the policy frameworks on energy, industry, transport, agriculture, as well as natural resource and environment, which focus on tackling climate change, are being put in place. And stringent mitigation measures in all sectors, particularly in energy and transport, must be implemented. The new National Energy Plan demonstrates how we could move towards the target pledge at the COP26 with the concept of 4D and 1E, which is a decarbonization, digitalization, decentralization, deregulation, and electrification. Measures under the plan include increasing ratio of renewable and clean energies of new electricity plants and promoting electrical vehicle, or EVs. Given that Thailand is an important automotive manufacturing hub for Southeast Asia, there are ample opportunities for economic growth in the EV industry. Now, in this regard, I'm grateful to learn that Ford Motor just invested about $900 million to showcase the modernization of manufacturing operations with new technologies and systems, especially in EVs. I am a big fan of EV. And moreover, the Royal Thai government has been working with producers and engineers to research electric vehicle battery technology and relevant solutions. Although the number of EVs in Thailand is rising, unfortunately, the number of charging stations in Thailand is still insufficient. This is opening up several business opportunities for expansion. Now, in addition to the energy and transport sector, the nature-based solution, including carbon sink and removal, especially through increasing the forest cover and green area up to 55% of the country, must be seriously undertaken. This is also an excellent opportunity to restore the ecosystem, and there is no viable pathway to net zero emission that does not involve protecting and restoring nature on an unprecedented scale. Natural climate solutions, a combination of land management, forestation, and other factors can provide over 1/3 of the cost-effective climate mitigation needed between now and 2030 to stabilize global warming. As Thailand is located in Southeast Asia, we have both terrestrial and mangrove forests, which could be the huge opportunity for a very cost-effective carbon offset while giving back oxygen to the planet. It would also be treasured incentives for business to invest in this cost-effective emission reduction measure. And currently, there are companies, both domestic and international and multinational, showing their serious intentions to engage in forest plantation, which will eventually lead to an investment in carbon sink and removals. I do sincerely believe that during the next decade, we will definitely shift from the era of black gold to green gold, or carbon credit, I might say. So let's consider planting something today that would certainly positively pay back later. Now, let me move on to the second point, the stakeholders' participation at all levels. It is clear that the government alone will not be able to achieve and do enough. All sectors, including government, private sectors, academic, people, as well as civil society, must seriously aware of the problem of climate change, which is now an important turning point and must be addressed before the impacts become irreversible. Now, it is imperative for all of us to work together through public and private partnership, Climate Action Network, Carbon Market Mechanism, as well as regional and international cooperation. In this connection, the Ministry of Natural Resource and Environment will organize Thailand Climate Action Conference, or TCAC, at the beginning of August this year at Siam Paragon. Now, this conference will engage all stakeholders, including the relevant government agencies, local governments, business and finance sector, NGOs, media, ambassadors, and high-level representatives from all around the world, from the international organizations based in Thailand. The public at large will also have the opportunity to participate in this conference through the exhibition both on-site and online. Of course, the American Chamber of Commerce will also be invited to take part in this one-of-a-kind conference, the first ever in the world. It is anticipated that the conference would be one of the tools to simulate awareness and further actions towards the achievement of the ambitious goal pledge at the COP26 last year. The third point is on innovation and technology development. Speedy knowledge and capacity building to create new innovations and technologies in geoengineering, carbon capture utilization and storage, smart farming and food security, electric vehicles, clean, green, and renewable energy, as well as GHG's removal technologies is essential. Our own research and development must be extremely encouraged, while technology transfer from our partners all around the world, which include from developed countries and international organizations, must be accelerated. And last but not least, climate finance. The significance of climate finance is the important means of implementation to transform political climate commitments into real actions, into reality. Thailand has been actively engaged in the present international climate finance regimes and will continue to do so with regards to the current and future funds. Domestically, the Bank of Thailand as the central bank, the Ministry of Finance, as well as other financial institutions have also been exploring the sustainable financial mechanism whose priority have been placed on combating climate change. Now, currently, the Bank of Thailand is attempting to create a conducive environment for financial institutions to comprehensively internalize climate change risks into their decision-making processes. However, not only the public finance is needed, but we also have to design policies and the right incentive to catalyze, to gear private sector investments to shift towards a climate-friendly and green transition. And listening to private sector opinions on the challenges of developing a low-emission business and the need for government support in order to be able to compete and develop a business with low greenhouse gas emission is also vital. Collaboration as a partnership to make an adequate and timely resource of fund available for addressing the climate crisis is essential. Now, in this regard, your voice will always be welcomed. Now, ladies and gentlemen, plenty of business opportunities ranging from industrial decarbonization, forest plantation, or even insurance, etc., are opened for us to build forward greener and better. Despite the opportunities, however, we have to act now. It is critical for businesses to play your strength, both in terms of skills and resources, to turn your ambition in doing a good business to concrete actions and environment, particularly in tackling climate change. I'm confident that the outcome of COP26 will pave way towards the new archetype of the businesses and investments in Thailand. And I hope that our deliberation today will explore ways of enriching such partnership between Thailand and American Chamber of Commerce and the members in contributing towards a greener, healthier, and more sustainably planet in which we will pleasantly pass on to our children, grandchildren, and the future generations to come, so that they don't look back and say that we have created a crisis for them to solve. So let's do it together. Let's do it now, not tomorrow, not next week, but now. Thank you very much. ขอบคุณครับ
ขอบคุณค่ะท่านรัฐมนตรี Thank you very much ค่ะท่านรัฐมนตรี for sharing with us a comprehensive update and insightful information on the ministry's policies and strategies to protect the environment and achieve our climate change commitment. So now please allow me to move on to the Q&A session. Your remarks is very interesting, and we have a few questions that our members gave us in advance, as they're hoping to learn more about your work on environmental protection. So now I would like to start with the first question on lower carbon energy source. So the question is that we would like to learn more about the ministry's strategy for lower carbon energy security and how a reliable supply of natural gas, including those from the overlapping claims area between Thailand and Cambodia, impact the implementation, timeline, and success of the strategy.
Well, thank you for the question. That's one of the key sector when we talk about energy. Unfortunately, I am the Minister of Natural Resource and Environment. If I'm actually the Minister of Energy, I would be able to give you a better answer. But allow me to reassure you that at the moment, the Minister of Energy, through the 4Ds and 1Es policy that I've mentioned earlier, they're working very hard to try to find a substitution. In order to move forward, energy sector plays a very vital roles because one of the biggest sector that produces greenhouse gas in Thailand is the energy sector. We've been utilizing the fossil fuel for God knows how long. For example, the Mammoth electrical plants from up north. I visited there myself, and the amount of coal being used there is, well, enormous. The coal pit is 4 by 3 kilometers wide and about 500 meters deep. So just imagine how much coal is being used there. So in order to shift from a typical fossil fuel into an alternative source like renewable, be it solar energy, wind energy, or hydroelectric powers, I think the Minister of Energy will have to consider the cost and the way to shift to ditch the old pair of shoes for a new pair of shoes. All of this will have to happen actually before 2050, but it's our carbon neutrality goal that the Prime Minister set on the 1st of November last year. But allow me to reiterate what I mentioned during my remarks was that in order to achieve the 2050 and 2065 deadline, there are 3 elements that are very crucial. First of all is a green finance support from our partners, both international, near and afar. Second is the technology transfer. All the helps are needed on the deck. And finally, the third factor is the capacity building. We don't need just the money or the technology. We need the people to be able to utilize that technology. So these 3 factors are important for us to move forward, to shift from the usage of the fossil into the new era of energy utilization. I hope I could answer more, but my knowledge in this ministry is rather limited to this ministry. It couldn't cover the Ministry of Energy. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much, Mantri, for clarification. We are really grateful that you kind of assure us that we will be safe in terms of securing the energy source for Thailand. Since you already mentioned about the financing, so I would like to move on to the next question on related to finance. So the question is that the concept of climate finance to fund green initiatives is something that we give full support for. You explained that the Bank of Thailand is in process to create a conducive environment for financial institutions to internalize climate change risk into their decision-making process. AmCham has members in the financial sector with a significant amount of investment in Thailand. Could you kindly provide more details on the BOT's plan to adapt financial institutions' operations to reach this objective? And as the scale of our members' operation is global and our standard of operations is to promote clean energy is high, is there anything that our members can do to support you or BOT on this effort?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, that the Prime Minister stressed on the BCG, Biocircular Green Economy model. And I also stressed that the post-COVID era, in recovering Thai economy for us to move forward, all hands now needed on the deck in all sectors, especially in business and industry. So from now on, the Bank of Thailand would encourage all the financial institutions to really look at the green investment. Technologies, companies that would have the production facilities that lower the greenhouse gas emission, or even companies that would specifically use to decarbonize or reduce the amount of greenhouse gas in the atmosphere. That would be given a priority or even approval of the project. So in all processes of approving a loan or setting up new businesses, even at the moment, the BOI, the Board of Investment of Thailand, is granting tax incentive grace periods for companies with the ability to reduce your own carbon footprint, especially now that in Europe we are they are introducing the CBAM, the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism. So all the business sectors and industries in Thailand will really have to think hard from now on. I mean, fortunately, they covers only 5 sectors, you know, fertilizers, concrete, irons, and aluminum and energy, I think. And so one needs to really consider about your carbon footprint. So in order to do that, you know, the finance from, you know, finance institutions would go a long way in supporting you. And at the moment, there are various tax incentives, and is being pushed through the cabinet at the moment of various measures to help promote the green financing in the financial institutions.
Thank you,ท่านรัฐมนตรี So I think I understand that you have the next important meeting we have to attend to. So that would be our last question. So ขอบคุณมากค่ะท่านรัฐมนตรี for all your answers and impressive work of the ministry that you share with us today. And Chairman, our members greatly appreciate your time and consideration to be with us today. So now I would like to pass the floor back to Kun Jeff, our president, to provide a formal appreciation to the Excellency.
Okay, well, I'll just say, Kapun Kap, thank you very much, Your Excellency. I appreciate your thoughts, and I really appreciate you taking the time to share with our members so that we can better understand how to participate and effectively, because this topic of the environment and sustainability is, you know, right at the top of the list for many of our companies, and we want to help participate. So thank you so much, Kapun Kap.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Looking forward to be there in person next time. Thank you.
Sounds great.
Everyone.
Thank you.
A wonderful afternoon.
Okay. All right, now let's move on to the business of the meeting related to the annual general meeting. I'll start with the 3 reports that we would like to proceed with, hopefully get approval today such that we can proceed. I'll start with the 2021 President's Report. This report outlines the accomplishments of the Chamber through 2021. Let me just read a quick blurb here just for everybody so that we're synced, and then I won't have to repeat the same comments over and over again here. But if there are any questions from members, please ask them by raising your hand and using that function on the meeting. Please note that if you're not listed or your company name's not listed, we probably won't call on you. So hopefully you've listed your name or your company in the attendance today. If there are any members who want to object to approval, that's fine too. You use the same procedure. Please also raise your hand to ask that question, to either ask a question or state your position. So I'll wait for a moment here to see if there are any questions. Let me see. Okay. All right. If there are no questions, I'm going to ask for a motion to accept the 2021 President's Report. And certainly Greg's here if you do have questions. Thank you, Greg.
Mr. President, I, Jeff Lehrman, move to accept the 2021 President's Report as presented.
Thank you, Jeff. Is there a second?
Mr. President, this is Tibor Pandey. I second.
Okay, thank you, Tibor. Thank you, Jeff. All right, the motion has passed. So let's move on to the second element, the 2021 financial report. Hopefully you've had a little time to review that. We did post them on the chat box, as I mentioned earlier in the discussion today. This year's financial statement shows a surplus of 2.7 million baht. This keeps us on track, basically, to our 5-year plan. Where we have a sustainable system where we don't have to raise any dues at least through 2025. So I'd say we're on plan. I'll ask if there's any questions, same commentary. Okay, if there's no questions, I'll ask for a motion.
Yeah, Mr. President, I move to accept the 2021 financial report as presented.
Thank you, Jeff. Is there a second?
Then I also move and I second.
All right, thank you, Tibor. Thank you, Jeff. The financial report for 2021 is now approved. All right, and then the third element, we need to appoint a new auditor for 2022. The board has considered 3 quotations, and we would like to propose the accounting firm of Baker Tilly for a fee of 180,000 Thai baht. It is prudent, we believe it is prudent to change the auditor after 5 years of service, and the new auditor has offered the same cost of services as our previous auditor, PKF. Are there any questions or concerns with that? Okay, I'll ask for a motion again.
Mr. President, I move to accept the auditor and auditor fee proposal as presented.
Thank you, Jeff. A second?
President, this is Tibor, and I second.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Jeff and Tibor. And thank you, Greg, for coming in case we did have questions. And thank you, Kungif, for coming as well. Look forward to seeing hopefully all of you as we have more online, but perhaps more importantly, some more face-to-face meetings where we can connect live again, as the minister definitely alluded to a few minutes ago. Thank you very much, and Sawadee Krap.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right.